Welcome back to another edition of Six Borough Sports, your home for New York and South Florida sports. For this New Year's episode of Six Borough Sports, we're going to talk about the probable departure, or at least the end, of the Jimmy Butler era with the Miami Heat. Before we get started, I'd like to please remind everyone to like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers. I have big plans for this year. I'm going to start doing 2 videos a week, and I'm probably going to get a camera soon. So stay tuned on that. And thank you so much for those who are listening. This week, Jimmy Butler indicated that he is interested in a trade. He says he's trying to find joy in basketball again. In the last 2 games, he's played reduced minutes, had a reduced role. Tyler Hero this year has been the dominant scorer for the Heat. It appears that the Heat were like initially trying to find trade partner, trying to work something out with Jimmy, but it seems like the relationship is has become frayed at this point. But Jimmy had a pretty good run with the Heat. A lot more, the most success that he's had in the league with the Heat. His finals runs were pretty freaking epic. I'll always remember that Buccaneers game, the Milwaukee Bucks game, where he just absolutely went off in the fourth quarter. Um, and they came storming back as an 8 seed to beat Milwaukee. But since that finals run, he's kind of fallen off a little bit. He's had a lot of injuries. He hasn't stayed healthy. Um, he just hasn't been available. And he's not the kind of player at this point, I think, in his career where he can, lead a team to a finals like he has done in the past. And the times where he has led a team to the finals, they've been in very weird, interesting circumstances. Like one was the COVID year, and then the other was, they were the 8th seed, and it was fantastic to watch. And he out hustles like everybody during those runs. But I think he those runs were always limited. They were going to run into that, Western team that just has too much talent and overpowers the Heat. And that's what happened both times. They ran into the Lakers and then the Nuggets. And that Nuggets team was much better. It's just a mismatch nightmare for the Heat. Um, I think this really started last year when he was out against Boston and he was still trash talking, and the Heat they got the gentleman's sweep, which because they put up the valiant effort with like a historic 3 shooting night. They were like, we have to pull off the most nonsensical 3-point performance to get that one win. Um, and after that, Pat Riley told him to keep his mouth shut because he's talking trash to Boston. He's like, if I was there, you're not there. So I kind of agree with Pat on that one. Um, but since then, it's been not a great relationship with the Heat, and you could see the writing on the wall that this was starting to break apart. But as I was saying, he had the most success with the Heat, but he's bounced around. He's been a disgruntled player in a lot of places. Um, and I think eventually, it wasn't going to end peacefully with Jimmy and the Heat. The Heat, it's very hard to play for the Heat when you are, especially like an older veteran who, and the team isn't winning because they expect you to grind it out constantly, and you're not, you've done it already and the team isn't winning. So it's like, why am I, putting up this much crazy effort, if we're just not gonna, win. Um, but the Heat were able to corral him with, you know, the playoff runs that like the Sixers couldn't offer him, um, and the Timberwolves certainly couldn't offer him. The Sixers got closer. That was that Kawhi shot, and then the Bulls as well. But yeah, it was a good run. Like I said, it's a it's just a wear and tear on the body, and I think it's a good move for both parties because he can't lead the Heat right now to a deep playoff run. The Heat need to do like a little bit of a reset. They don't have any star that can really dominate a game. Tyler Hare is having a great year, but again, it's because his usage is up. I'm not going to say it's empty stats, but his usage is going to be up because he's like taking over those offensive numbers. Bam is just not reliable offensively. In terms of like we need you to like step up and take over a game, like a couple of games here. You can't get that out of Bam, and it's kind of frustrating because I think aggressive Bam is really fun to watch, and he's a really good player. But that's just not you're asking him to be something that he's not. Um, but he's a great defensive player, and I have no like I'm not holding it against him, but he never took that next step offensively um, throughout his career, and so that's just where the Heat are. I'm very interested to see where the Heat go from here after this. They're gonna be in competition. If they do end up trading Jimmy and they clear some salary space, they're going to be in competition with like the Brooklyn Nets, who will have dumped all their salary. Ben Simmons off the books. They just traded Schroeder. He had some money, and that money is gone. And then they got back D'Lo, but D'Lo's on a 1 year deal. So the Nets are going to be like, all right, now we have money to spend again. Who wants the money? And then on top of it, they have a metric ton of draft capital. Not all the best picks, but they do have a ton of draft capital, which the Heat don't have. Heat right now are an interesting free agent destination. I think a lot of players want to play for the Heat, but only certain players can play for the Heat, and you know they have to fit the correct mold. But people love playing for Spolstra. He's one of the top coaches that everyone wants to play for. You just got to be prepared to hustle and everything. The other question is what happens to Pat Riley too, because he can't be going on forever here. It's got the ride's got to end eventually, and I'm wondering what's going to happen with Spo when Pat leaves. If they're going to get another president, are they going to promote Spo? Is Spo going to be president coach, and then they have another GM? I don't know. I'm not really sure where Jimmy could end up. I've heard Golden State. That would be interesting. Jimmy on Golden State would be interesting. I can't think of any other teams where Jimmy, I don't know where it fits salary wise and all that fun stuff, but it doesn't seem like the Heat are that interested in trading him. Which is another issue, is like they can just sit on him and not let him go. But if I were the Heat and you're not winning, based on their record, they're a playoff team right now, but you're not winning a championship, not with this roster. Um, so I would look to trade him and maybe get some capital. Also, before he gets hurt, that's a whole other issue. Is he can't get hurt, and that might be part of the weird minutes thing that they're trying to do. It's like, yeah, you can play and do a little bit of stuff, but you can't play full games because we got to trade you and we can't let you get hurt. But yeah, I think Golden State would be interesting. They need a little more oomph offensively. Defensively, ooh, him and Draymond running around at the same time would not be fun to deal with. Um, I'm just trying to think of like fun places he could go. Not even it doesn't even have to make sense. San Antonio would be fun as well. He needs to go to a winning team. He can't go to a team where he'll get annoyed and bored. And I think that's kind of where he's at. He's at right now. He's annoyed and bored, and he's taking it out on the Heat because they're kind of like just treading water right now, and it's not productive. So it'll be very interesting. Also, I was going to say I brought up the Nets earlier. Shout out to the return of D'Lo in the Dennis Schroeder deal. Um, but Schroeder was having a really good year. But the Nets, they said your season is you're doing too good of a season right now. We're trying to get one of some of the top picks. So they uh, they kiboshed their pretty fast start. But the Nets are definitely not one of the worst teams, like unlike New Orleans and stuff. Also, shout out to Detroit for not being the worst team. They're starting to play a lot better under the radar. Um, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where Jimmy ends up. I see him like an older veteran team trying to make a push on the West. In the West, he's not going to an Eastern team. Pat Riley wouldn't. If he is traded, there's a part of me that thinks that they're just going to hold on to him and not let him go. But there's a part of me that thinks he's going to end up like on a some Western team. Another team I thought would be interesting, and they're kind of climbing into the playoff hunt, is San Antonio teaming up with Wemby. I think that would be a fun him and Chris Paul. Although I don't see Jimmy and Chris Paul working well together, but maybe that's just me. It's just personality wise, but I don't know. I think they played on Team USA together, Jimmy and Chris Paul. But anyway, that's it for this week. I'm probably going to make a video Sunday night or Monday morning or Monday afternoon after work, or Monday evening, um, going over the NFL regular season. Hopefully, the Dolphins make the playoffs. Tua has been ruled unlikely to play on Sunday. Pivotal game against the Jets up in New York, but it should be good. We can go over the Jets, Dolphins, and Giants and what their offseason prospects are, unless the Dolphins make the playoffs. That's it for this week. Please, everyone, like, comment, and subscribe. Like I said, we're trying to get to 100 subs. Thank you so much, and have a happy new year.